Legendary producers are stealing other producers' beats. Producers we look up to are just copying other producers' styles. Say it ain't so.
So basically, I was copying everything because I was 12, 13. Did you have somebody you had training wheels with?
Yeah.
That you watched it was like, yo, that's on patting my career up here.
Wow. Man, there's so many.
I can't believe it. Yeah, I can, because I did the same thing. And realistically, so did you. But here's the thing. When you listen to Don Cannon's beats, you don't hear Premier. When you listen to my beats, you don't really hear Premier. I tried to make beats like DJ Premier, but I never made Above the Clouds. I tried to make beats like RZA, but I never made Cream. I tried to make beats like Traxster, but I never made Adrenaline Rush. Or Wetter. That beat is crazy. Because humans don't learn like that. At the beginning, sure, we can try our hardest to create one-to-one copies. That's what I did the very first time. I've been listening to hip-hop forever, and I just decided one day that I wanted to learn how to make beats. So my friend had a keyboard in his apartment, and he had a computer, and he knew how to record the drums from the keyboard and the piano from the keyboard. And I was like, cool. I listened to a DJ Muggs record. I'm like, I'm going to duplicate this. It didn't sound anything like it because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. We don't simply copy as humans. That's not how we make art. We are too messy for that. We're emotional. We have unique experiences. All of these human factors affect the way we make art. So I love this conversation between Don Cannon and Hi-Tek, and I wanted to cover it because they talk about how to practice. They talk about how to train. And oftentimes when we are starting out making music, we are trying to duplicate what the greats have created already. We don't get it right, but we learn in this messy process. And then also, separate from that is actual theft. So a human who is good enough at, like a producer who's good enough at making beats, can effectively steal another producer's beat idea. Sure, stealing another artist's piece is an incredibly intentional and conscious process. Whereas learning is not really always that clean or straightforward. And I already knew what was going to happen if I covered this video. All the AI bros were going to come out and say, no, look, see, humans steal other humans' art. That's how they learn. That's exactly what AI platforms are doing. So how do you hypocrites have a problem with Suno training on hundreds of millions of copyrighted songs when that's exactly what humans do? And there's actually this really embarrassing article here written by Randy Resnick, who is a great musician. He's a blues guitarist. He's worked with some amazing artists. I am as sick of hearing about AI as anyone, but it isn't stealing anyone's work. It is synthesizing it just as we human artists have done since the beginning of music. The man's 80, so I imagine he's really bewildered by technology. And if it sounds like I'm being insulting, it's because I am. Because of this line, a popular AI music site can generate not one but two verses, he's talking about Suno, of a song with credible backing, words that rhyme and make more sense than most rap lyrics usually do, and an artificial voice that sounds human, not mechanical. Well, it does sound mechanical. It sounds very mechanical, as a matter of fact. I've been reviewing a lot of Suno generated songs. And of course, 80-year-old white dude, he has to take a shot at rap because that's what a lot of AI bros do. It's better than rap. So if Mr. Resnick is in love with AI technology so much, why didn't he just simply use Google's AI and ask it, does AI learn like humans? And he would immediately see that even Gemini disagrees with the premise of his entire article. I mean, there's an entire field of cognitive sciences that I highly doubt Randy Resnick has studied himself. And there are many articles about how the human mind learns. And now, more than ever, a lot of comparisons in cognitive sciences of the process by which AI is trained and humans learn. This is just one article by, that's a dope name that I'm not even, no. In the UT Health Houston McWilliams School of Biomedical Informatics, a whole bunch of words that are way above my pay grade. Humans excel at learning from experience, social interactions, and observation. Our ability to adapt, generalize across context, and apply abstract thinking allow us to learn from relatively small amounts of data. No shit. Cognitive development in humans is an ongoing flexible process shaped by environment, culture, and personal experiences. And realistically, this should be common sense. Now, pattern recognition is the fundamental basis for how AI trains. It consumes and analyzes a lot of data. That's why Suno had to steal hundreds of millions of songs. Then it analyzes those data, it discerns patterns, it analyzes those patterns and generates output based on that. This might take months, this process. Humans do not learn like this. Not even a little. I mean, this is so simple to grasp, yet seemingly everybody who takes a pro AI stance, even Randy Resnick, views the artistic process as simple pattern recognition and then output. Now, if Randy had listened to, not that he would because he doesn't respect the hip hop culture, but if he were forced to listen to every rap album released between the years 1990 and 2001 over the course of 2-3 months, could he then turn around and produce beats like DJ Muggs? Or could he rap like Jadakiss? Or could he engineer like DJ Quick? Of course not. Case closed, right? Consider another non-musical example, something like law school. So you're in a group of 100 other students. You're in the same program. You're with them in this program for years. You learn from the same texts. You study the same cases. You work and study under the same professors. Why do some students go on to become these high-power attorneys? Some go on to lose a lot of cases and then just quit the field entirely, and some end up in the nonprofit sector. Because this is the beauty of humanity. We are not machines. We are not LLMs. We don't simply discern patterns. That's not what our decision making is based on. If we did, there would be no diversity in architecture or in visual art or in music or in culture and writing, nothing. It's right there in our faces. I don't even entertain these comparisons. And when someone starts talking about how human cognition is the exact same as Suno training on YouTube music, it's not worth the conversation. The real conversation that's interesting is how humans learn, because we're all trying to improve at our art. Well, most of us are. I think all of us should strive to improve at our art. Maybe some of us don't need to. I do. The reason I'm bringing this up is because, I'm reviewing music a lot, reviewing beats. I have my private Discord. You can join patreon.com/DJPen1. And so I'm always giving feedback on beats. But everyone's learning at different paces. And it's interesting because I can give certain kind of feedback and it's not really interpreted in a one-to-one way. That's the other beauty of humans. We interpret things through our lenses. You ever had a conversation with someone that's just incredibly frustrating because they just don't understand what you're saying, even though you're being clear? Again, humans. So let's watch a little of this conversation I had with Dame about this particular video, about how producers initially learn by stealing. Yeah, this is week 10 of me sharing Tomorrow Network stuff until Don Cannon shows up to my house.
Man, yeah.
They say it's important, especially when we were young. And I know when I was young, they say as we're coming up, we have training wheels. I had training wheels when it came to DJ Premier. I looked up to him. That's the person that I wanted to be. When I first saw Mass Appeal, I thought that was the greatest thing I ever saw because he was scratching. And I felt like he was scratching on one side. I was handicapped. So I was scratching, you know what I mean? And when I think it was maybe Jukebox, first time I ever heard Mass Appeal, the video come, and he was like, honey's going like that. It was like, Mass Appeal. I caught the bug. So I'm just like, oh, snap. Then I started just listening to everything he was making. And I had a trainer wheel. So basically, I was copying everything because I was 12, 13. Did you have somebody you had training wheels with?
Yeah.
That you watched it was like, yo, that's who I'm patting my career up.
Wow. Man, there's so many. There's so many, especially being in the Midwest. Like I said, I had mentors that was
already there.
I'll just cut it there, Dame. What are your initial thoughts about them flat out saying producers, when they start out, should copy someone else?
Yeah, I think that's just I'm not a producer myself, but I just feel like that's just the natural thing to do, whether you rapping, producing, whatever. Like your initial work is going to be trying to just copy whatever you look up to, right? Or even if you're playing sports, like I know young kids that are looking at LeBron or Steph, they're just trying to copy what they do, right? It's not until you have a certain comfort level with your skill set that you start trying new things that you haven't really seen before. You start to develop your own approach and technique and sound to things. Like once you have a comfortable grasp on what it is you're pursuing. So to me, it just makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think a lot of producers are terrified of saying that they copy people. People love to say, I'm so original, this and that. And it's like, no, you're not. We all get something from somewhere, especially when we're starting with nothing. Because if we just go off on our own with no type of structure, no type of foundation, then we're not going to make anything that even sounds remotely like music. So
I think
uh,
the word copy. I think the word when you say copy, it just has a negative connotation.
it does, but it shouldn't.
It shouldn't, but I think that's you're just inspired by these people. You look up to,
You're studying
people,
them.
yeah, that are great. Um, but I think that word just probably triggers folks.
Well, I think it triggers people that don't really understand cognitive sciences, not at some sort of scholarly academic level, but just understanding how the human brain works. You see a lot of people saying that with the AI conversation, you see a lot of people saying, well, AI is learning the same way humans are. I'm like, come on, you know damn well a human can't sit down and listen to 1,000 songs at once or 1,000,000 songs at once, extract the patterns, and then immediately and instantaneously apply those patterns to create new work on day one. That's not what humans do. That's what a system, an LLM does. And everyone's like, oh, it's pattern recognition. It's just like humans. It's not just like humans. Humans do not simply just see something, discern a pattern, and then duplicate that pattern. If that were the case, you could show a 5-year-old the Mona Lisa. Hey, look at this for 10 minutes. All right, go into the kitchen, paint you one of those, and you'd have a perfect duplicate, or even side by side. Here it is. Look at it. You see it. Why can't you duplicate it? I couldn't do that. I could side by side for a year have that painting there. I wouldn't even know where to start. How do you treat the fabric? How do you, people are doing color studies. That's not how the human brain works. Certainly not with music. But I think what's especially interesting with Don Cannon is that and I know you probably aren't a Don Cannon aficionado. You don't know what his beats sound like. You know the Cannon beat at least, right? The Cannon,
Uh,
that everyone was
oh
rapping on that in like 2006.
yeah, yeah.
So does that sound like a DJ Premier? I can hear the influence, but it doesn't sound like a DJ Premier beat.
But again, I mean, the training wheels is kind of where you start. I don't
Yep,
think that beat came out when he was still in his training wheels phase, right? Like
exactly.
he released the training wheels. There's elements of the foundation in his foundation, but he went on to kind of build his own sound off of that.
Yep.
Um, so that's completely okay. I'm sure there's people that are modeling, that are starting now. The kids in your class that are learning beats through you, learning DJing through you, like they're ultimately soaking up your skill set.
Right. But then what they make or their technique is entirely different from mine. I mean, on day
Right.
one and all the way up to day 5, where I listen, I'm like, oh, you learn how to do that for me, but I would have never done that.
Right.
Because that's the beauty of humans. So Don Cannon learns from Premiere. I learned from Premiere too. I don't think anyone would listen to Rodeo or Switch It Up or, well, some of the songs, because I do scratch hooks. That's definitely straight out of the Premiere playbook of production. But otherwise, I don't chop samples like him. I used to, but you develop, because there are all these factors within the human experience and the cognitive growth process that aren't pattern recognition. We don't live our lives based on pattern recognition. We live
Okay.
our lives based on emotional input and emotional output and all of these other X factors that separate us from machines. So that's one of those reasons why I feel like art should have just not been touched by generative AI, honestly. But here we are. Um, I'm just looking at the cognitive sciences behind it, and I think it's really common sense that people who are given the exact same material do not all duplicate it one to one, if ever. And they certainly don't understand it the same way. There are cultural differences, there are experiential differences that all humans have, and we're all going to interpret stuff differently. That's why scholars debate works of literature and historical events. if it were just all pattern recognition, we would look at them and say, oh, that just is what it is. And we all agree, right? But that's not how the world works. That's not how humans work. That's not how animals work. That's not how any living being works. And when we apply that to art, it clearly, anyone that says, yeah, humans learn by stealing just like AI, I know you know nothing about art or humans. And it's weird. We are living in a weird space right now with these debates.
Yeah. I mean, you can try to steal somebody that has mastered their craft, but even
Good luck.
if you're like, oh, I want to do the turnaround jumper like Jordan, like, okay, you can steal it in your mind, but to actually execute it,
Right.
it's gonna take years and hours and hours in the
You hear
gym.
that all the time. And for some reason, Dame, though, that example fucks people up because they're like, oh, well, physically, we're all different. Yeah, bitch, neurologically and cognitively, we're all different too. So when we're
Yeah.
talking about music, no, you get people, they love this. Oh, I could do that. I hear it all the time. People, especially the people who disrespect hip hop. I could do that. All right, do it. See, I did it. That sounds nothing like anything anyone would listen to because you just don't get it. You are not a part of the culture. You haven't been listening to it your whole life. You can't synthesize that type of information instantaneously. You just can't. You can try, you can make a good effort, but even the greatest classical composer, when you bring them in a room and say, okay, make a hip hop beat, people might have their noses in the air and say, well, that person's a much more legitimate musician than you button pushing ass producers. All right, make an amazing beat. You've composed amazing symphonies. Make an amazing beat. They can't just do that. That's not how we work.